Hello, my name's Les Back. I teach sociology here at Goldsmiths. But in 1981, I was 18 years old. I just left home to come and start a new adult life. In New Cross and in Deptford, I lived on Creek Road. And it was just a few months after the New Cross Massacre and the momentous Black People's Day of Action demonstration that had taken place in early March 1981. It was an incredible time to live in this part of London. It was a real tumult of both, the vibrancy and the creativity of Black London life. At the same time, the proximity of those creative aspects which were in the sphere of music and in literature in all kinds of ways, and the violence of local racism. At the time, Richard Hoggart was the warden of Goldsmiths College, and I admired Hoggart. He'd written a wonderful book called Uses of Literacy in 1957. He was a working class kid who had gone to grammar school and used education to change his life. Every day when I walked from Creek Road up to the main college in Lewisham Way, I walked along Deptford High Street and past the house at 439 New Cross Road where the fire had happened. There were flowers left routinely and replenished. The names of the 13 young people who had been killed that night were in the doorway of this burnt out house. It was really a haunting experience as a young person, and it was almost like that the burnt out. You could smell the fire when you walk past every day. The stench of the tragedy and the injustice of it. I remember it so vividly, and in many ways it was the beginning for me of my involvement in the local community, and I subsequently became a youth worker at the Moonshot Youth Club, and became more deeply involved in the experience of young people locally, but also the fact that Goldsmiths was quite a white island in a post-colonial sea. And I became more and more connected to and drawn into the life of the local community. And at the time, the warden of the college, Richard Hoggart, was at best ambivalent about the sorts of political mobilisations that were going on locally. Here he is writing in his memoir, Imagined Life, about that time. He writes, "I was furious when after a house fire at a party on the main road nearby, in which several young blacks died, some members of staff and students the day after placarded the college with socialist worker demands for campaign contributions based on the assertion, even now unproved and quite unlikely, that the fire had been started by racists and that the police were dragging their heels, being racists all. We launched a college fund on straight humanitarian grounds." I mean, Hoggart's ambivalence is quite explicit in his memoir, actually. But for me, as a young person who had grown up in a working class community and family in this part of London, who had heard racist jokes being told at the kitchen table. My mum and dad would come to the Montacute Arms, just on the edge of the Old Kent Road, and hear racist comedians like Jimmy Jones do their kind of racist acts, comedy acts. Walking past the house was a warning and a reminder of where racism could lead, and it was a turning point for me. Many years later, after finishing my degree here at Goldsmiths, working in the Midlands, coming back to teach here, my friend and colleague Vron Ware showed me the photographs that she had taken during the Black People's Day of Action, including this one, which I just want to show you. This extraordinary photograph, which is taken literally at the end of the street where my office is now and where I'm talking to you from. That's the old kinema in New Cross, or the venue as it is now. And the march coming down the New Cross Road on its way to central London. And I think one of the things that was so powerful, that's the Marquis of Granby pub in the background here too. One of the things that I thought was so powerful about the the political activism at the time is they decided that those 13 young black lives would be honoured by carrying their portraits, carrying them so that they would be remembered, and in a way demonstrating the human cost and the human loss of the fire itself. When Vron showed me these photographs first, I just said to her, look, we have to find a way to make an exhibition of your work, and let people locally, the college is literally less than a mile, just a street away from where the fire and this tragedy happened. We need to make those images available for people to encounter and to experience. And the sequence of events ran that we ended up working very closely with the George Padmore Institute and using the archive of documents and papers from the committee and the organising committee that facilitated that demonstration, and the archive there, along with press coverage and documents, to curate an exhibition that was held right in the centre of the college in 2017 between March and May. Thousands of people came to see that exhibition, to see Vron's photographs, but also the George Padmore Institute documents that were curated. In a way, what we wanted to do was to bring together all of the historical evidence that we could muster, as well as to have the voices of some of the most articulate interpreters and commentators on the significance of that day together in a space. So we had the photographs on the walls, as well as the scandalous press footage, the racist reporting that was demonstrated at that time of the march, in cabinets large, made into vinyls, with the documents around them and the voices of people like John LaRose and Paul Gilroy and Joan Animado in transfers on the glass. So you would read the words of John LaRose, and through the glass you would then see in the background the reporting from the Sun. I remember it so vividly, the headline in the Sun. It just read "Black Day at Blackfriars," So it was a real high point in popular media racism, I think, the reporting of the march. In any case, so we wanted to create this kind of and curate a space where people could encounter and think about the memory of the fire and the politics of affirmation and freedom, and an assertion of civil rights, really, which I think was so important and valuable and was so little known. I was always shocked going and giving talks in local schools where young people wouldn't know about the history of the New Cross fire and the politics of resistance that were galvanised in response to this terrible tragedy. So it was an extraordinary thing. Thousands of people came. We also had hundreds of people who left reflections on small feedback cards, which we asked people to write messages in, and we collected them. I think it was over 300 of those that we collected at the time. And it was an extraordinary thing. I mean, I didn't want to take any credit for doing the exhibition, actually. My name didn't appear on it. I haven't written about it. In a way, I wanted just the photographs to be seen and the extraordinary material from the George Padmore Institute to be curated and exhibited for people to encounter, think about, and make up their own mind. The exhibition would not have been the success that it was without the archive and without the collaboration of the George Padmore Institute, and I'd like to just use this opportunity to convey my deep and sincere thanks for that. I mean, it's an extraordinary archive that's kind of cared for and created and sustained through the passion and the love of the people connected to the New Beacon Circle and the bookshop and so on. So deep thanks for that. Now, doing the exhibition was an extraordinary thing. On the one hand, I didn't want to take any credit for it personally, but I worked harder on that curating the exhibition I've worked on anything in my sort of political and academic life. And it was a difficult thing because there were many small but important, deeply important details around the names of the victims, for example, or the circumstances of their deaths that circulate in public, which are incorrect. And there was a quite an intense period where, when the exhibition opened, where some of those mistakes were spotted by family members or people that were friends, and we were constantly trying to take those mistakes out, and literally take down the exhibition, correct it, and reinstall it. And I shall never forget one of the members of one of the bereaved families who lost a brother that in the fire and its aftermath. At the end of this quite difficult process, once the exhibition was as accurate as we could make it, I remember us sitting and having a cup of tea in the coffee shop, which was very close to where the exhibition was installed, right in the heart of the college. It was open as long as the college was open. It was right in the centre of the institution itself, and it was open to the public, 7 days a week. And as I say, thousands of people came to look at the images and to engage with it. Anyway, after this quite fraught process and things had settled, and we kind of thought, okay, our work is done. Let people engage with it and learn from it and think about it. I remember sitting having a cup of tea with the sister of one of the victims, and I shall never forget this. She turned to me and she says, "Look, Les, I just need to know, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why do you feel you need to do this?" And it wasn't a question that was asked in an accusing way or a suspicious way. I think she just really wanted to know what my own investments in this, and I remember so vividly turning to her and said, "Well, your brother is exactly the same age as me. He was born in 1962, the year that I was born. We were just a few months apart. And his future was stolen from him that night. And one of the things that really stays with me and guides my own commitments, really, is that I'm very keenly aware that the freedom and life and opportunities that I have been able to enjoy, embrace and inhabit were denied to him. They were stolen from him. His future was stolen. That's why I think it's important for those lives and those people to be remembered, and why it's important that memory isn't lost, and the significance of the movement that gathered after this tragic event. I mean, our young people and our children learn about the civil rights as if it only manifested itself in the United States. This was a civil rights struggle that happened one street away, and it was important to honour it, to remember it, and to learn from it.